Now, can you imagine that you're about to marry somebody, but then you start questioning whether or not you're actually attracted to them? This is what 1997's In and Out is all about. Directed by Frank Oz. Yes, the same Frank Oz who did the voice of this character, and it is starring Kevin Kline. Now, I got a handful of comments after I released the Jeffrey video about why I should check out this film, In and Out, which has the same writer of Jeffrey, Paul Rudnick. I keep trying to say Paul Rudnick. I apologize, Paul Rudnick. I sometimes also, side note, I pronounce things weird. I don't know if it's because of learning Portuguese before English and how that's always screwed with me. Like sometimes I'll tell people to close the light because that's what it means in Portuguese. Anyways, please forgive me if I ever say something in the wrong way or pronounce a word differently. Anyways, it's the same writer of Jeffrey. And overall, I thought this movie was fine. I didn't like it more than Jeffrey. I like Jeffrey a lot more. But people wanted me to check this out and talk about it, so I'd love to talk about it with you. And I will be talking about this movie in depth, so if that bothers you, go watch the movie and come back. Come back! Come back! And we can talk about it, but otherwise, let's have some fun talking about this film. So the premise of the film is kind of simple, but the story itself gets kind of detailed as things go on. And the story is about a teacher who gets outed by a graduated student who wins an Oscar for acting and playing a gay character. And in his Oscar speech, he outs the teacher as gay, who the teacher is not out as gay, and he is just about to marry a woman. So this complicates his life, and the media starts focusing in on him, and it just becomes this whole whirlwind of a disaster for him. And in this process, he realizes that, yeah, he actually is gay. So that's kind of the story in a nutshell. Now, like I said at the start, I do feel like this is kind of a sanitized version of Jeffrey because I feel like the budget was bigger for this, and this was, marketed toward more mainstream audiences, that they kind of toned down the gay aspects. Like, we don't even have any, gay scenes of people making love, and I feel like it's a very toned down version of gay. I feel like the main character, even though this character is just discovering his sexuality, we are still not given gay sex scenes or anything outside of a kiss, which is fine. Every movie doesn't have to have sex. I know. I in comparison to Jeffrey, it makes sense because when they're trying to appeal to everybody, I'm sure they're a little scared of showing gay sex. But the very beginning of the movie, like when we're about to, like, everyone's getting ready to watch the Oscars, before the inciting incident happens, it just gives me a lot of the Blue Velvet sense. Have you ever seen that David Lynch movie? How the white picket fence, everyone's happy, and it's like this suburban oasis, but there's something dark underneath. And I kind of got that. Like, things are just a little too perfect. Something bad is about to happen in this world. Just like the jokes in Jeffrey, a lot of them do land. Some of them here do feel a little dated. I mean, there's like an O.J. Simpson joke about Johnny Cochran or something like that didn't really land that well. Just with time. And there is an ongoing gag about Barbra Streisand and stereotypes. Barbra Streisand may be out of touch now with the gay community, at least the younger gay community. I'm sure that Barbra Streisand was of her time. I feel like now it'd be somebody like Lana Del Rey, maybe. This movie deals a lot in gay stereotypes, satirizing fame, playing around with the idea of gay straight actors playing gay roles, which I've talked ad nauseum about on this channel, and I already have videos on that if you want to see my opinion on it. Overall, I feel like it doesn't bother me, and if the actor does a good job researching the role. But again, I don't want to get into that. But it's basically talking about that. And in my research, when I read on IMDb or Wikipedia, they were saying that this film is actually based off Tom Hanks' speech when he won the Oscar for Philadelphia, how he thanked his gay teacher. But in my research, I found out that the teacher actually okayed this. He was able to say that it's okay to publicly say his sexual orientation to millions of people. Whereas the writer decided in this film to, like, what if he didn't get permission and he just all of a sudden outed him, which is an interesting idea. Now, anecdotally, I mean, we've all had experiences where we've encountered somebody who might not be gay, but they're showing all the stereotypes of being gay, and it's not good to stereotype, but sometimes I have been correct in my assumptions, and later that person has come out as gay. But at the very same time, I've had the opposite, where you thought this person was gay because they may act a certain way or behave their body language, and later on, you see them and they're married to a woman and they're happy. So I mean, that's the thing with stereotypes, is that it starts with a root of truth in some aspect, but you can't generalize it to an entire group of people, because not everyone's going to be the same. And being written by somebody who is openly gay, I feel like they were able to play around with that idea of how people think gay people are and how gay people actually are. And there's this whole funny sequence in the film that I thought was good, where the character who's sort of realizing it, because this character realizes later in his life that he's gay, and in this scene he's listening to this tape on masculinity, and it's this, it's the cliche things that you're supposed to be masculine, like you're supposed to be tough and like hold yourself in a certain way, don't have your shirt tucked in all the way, kind of be messy, and it's funny, and it ends really, really funny with him dancing and just breaking out of this tape telling him to be a certain way. Like, there's this joke that you shouldn't dance when he's playing this song, and he just ends up dancing anyways because he can't hold back who he is. Tom Selleck is in this film, and he does such a great job. He also is a gay character in it. He is kind of like a Catwoman in a way, in the sense that you don't really know, is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? Is he trying to help the main character, or is he actually trying to sabotage him? But later we find out that he's actually on his side, and he realizes, because he's part of the media, he's part of he's kind of antagonizing the character for a bit until the end. I do like a scene that takes place where the character is in this this denial that he's gay, and the Tom Selleck character just kisses Kevin Kline. And it's really good. And Kevin Kline does this thing where he like wraps his leg around Tom Selleck, and I thought that was just a wonderful piece of a performance, a physical performance. It was really funny. I really love Joan Cusack's performance in this, who plays his wife, because she really gets her moment. At the first half of the film, she's kind of in the background, but when he reveals that he's actually gay, and he does it at a wedding, it's a really hilarious scene, because they're asking, like, they say, do you take this man? And she says, I do. And then they ask him, like, do you take this woman? And he says, I'm gay. And it's a really good scene. It's a really well written scene, and her reaction to it is really real. Like, sometimes these comedies that kind of work on the surface, they don't really go deep into like what would actually happen. And when this woman actually gets to confront him later after he came out and kind of ruined her life in a way, for holding this secret for so long, it's good. And she's really delivering it to him in a way that you really feel that would be true to life. And later on, she encounters the Tom Selleck character at a bar, and that's just really funny too, how she's just really desperate because the Kevin Kline character and her never really consummated or had sex together. And so she's just desperate to have sex with anybody. And then she encounters the Tom Selleck character, and then she realizes that Tom Selleck character is gay. And that was a really good cut that they cut out of the bar, and she just screams. There's just really good filmmaking in general. I think Frank Oz did a wonderful job making just a good, well-rounded film, and he does a good job balancing the script that Paul wrote into just creating something that anybody can really enjoy. And this movie is really fast to watch. It's only an hour and a half, and it goes along really quickly. There isn't a lot of story, like I said, that it needs to happen. It's more about how these characters react. It's something that I've heard Quentin Tarantino say, that it's light on story, but it's heavy on the storytelling aspects. Now, there's also a scene that happens later in the film after the Kevin Kline character has come out, and his dad, played by Walter Brimley, he asks him, and I thought this is such a perfect line. This is something that I think only a gay writer could really understand, or a writer who did their research really well. Because the dad character asks him, "Are you going to get surgery?" Implying like, is he going to turn into a woman? And that's the thing. When people are outside of the community, they don't understand these nuances and things. And yes, it's being transgender is completely different than being gay. and people on the outside just don't know that. And I thought that line was just a really smart, intelligent line that that would take somebody who experienced stuff like that, comments like that, and like, are you going to dress like a woman? I mean, certain gay people like to do that. I'm not one of those people, but it just feels like people don't understand that gay people aren't this monolithic thing. And another aspect that this film dealt with that felt really relevant today, because the character is a teacher, and there is a problem with the administration that he shouldn't be influencing kids because now he's out as gay. And this is a very heated topic, and of course I have strong feelings about this, that I really truly believe you can't teach anybody to be gay. I mean, having said that, having read a lot of heterosexual literature growing up in school, Romeo and Juliet, for instance, well, why didn't that turn me into a heterosexual? There's a great line that Harvey Milk says to the same effect, that, if teachers really influenced kids, there would be a lot of nuns. He says something to that effect, and I thought that's just brilliant. But this film is dealing with that as well, like this idea that, this teacher cannot work here anymore because he's going to influence the kids, down to what we're doing today about banning books. And certainly there's limits. Actually, I don't want to talk about this because this is a whole thing on its own. So yeah, like I said, overall, I thought this movie was fine. And I don't think it was as good as Jeffrey, even though I do think it's a fun movie. It feels really, it's not as gay as Jeffrey is. And I feel like I said at the start, I feel like they were trying to please everybody and kind of make something that the 90s mainstream audience could accept. And they made a fine movie. They made a good movie. I mean, I wouldn't say it's up there with some of the best of that decade, but it's fine. It's a fine movie. And it's a happy ending too. And if that's something you really want, I have my own feelings about gay happy endings. And I think we need more realistic ones to show us as real human beings. But I also understand the argument that people dislike that happily ever after thing, and this is that movie if you like that. The film does have a wonderful reference to a Stanley Kubrick film, Spartacus, where they all kind of stand up and say, I'm gay, kind of like, I'm Spartacus. And any movie that has a reference to Stanley Kubrick is a good time in my book.